Are you the type of personality that you would want to sit in front of a screen and do technical work all day and not talk to people? Or do you need to just talk to people all day long and you don't really care for the technical work? Or do you need a little bit of both? It's not like trying to assess like how smart people are, how skilled people are, anything like that. It's really just trying to assess what types of work do you like to do, and would you be a long-term successful fit in this chair? Or are you going to have to be really stretching and flexing and kind of grinding at something you don't really like to do?
Welcome to Hot Docket, the show where we talk about winning marketing strategies that have built the most successful law firms.
Join us every 2 weeks for the latest trends and tactics to grow your law firm. Welcome to the Hot Docket podcast. Today we've got Kyle Robbins from Robbins Estate Law. We've got a very interesting episode today, Bobby, and I'm looking forward to it.
The one thing that I'll say about Kyle before we kick off is I'm going to be excited to talk about Kyle's hiring process and some of his secrets when it comes to that, because he's given us some pretty interesting, unique things to chew on. So we'll get there when we get there, but I am excited for that part.
Kyle, do you want to run us through your background, why you became an attorney, and kind of how you started your practice?
Yeah, absolutely. So, why I became an attorney? I grew up in like the sticks of Oklahoma from a farming family. So I'm the classic, like, there's no lawyers in my family or anything. I just didn't want to work on a farm mostly. So, took the law school entrance exam, took the business school entrance exam, did pretty good on the law school one. So I thought, well, might as well give that a shot. I was really fortunate to get into a great law school, the University of Texas. And then during school, just really took tons of attorneys to lunch, asked them what their life was like, and quickly fell in love with estate planning. So once I got out of UT, I just dove right in immediately and been doing that for about a decade now.
What were the other practices that were like on your radar, if not estate planning?
Ooh, I scoped everything out. I clerked for a bankruptcy court one summer, which was, I'm going to use the word entertaining. I worked for a oil and gas firm out in West Texas that did tons of oil and gas litigation, and that's actually where I kind of discovered the estate tax issues that they have out there with their wealthy clients out in Midland. And then I also worked for a group of patent attorneys, believe it or not. So they would try to enforce patents against the tech industry, and had done really well in that space. But that was one where I think I worked for them for 6 months. And I looked up and was like, I have not spoken to another human in the last 6 months, and I don't think this space is for me. So, briefly, those are the main ones that I took a look at.
Yeah, you found your niche. So
Yep.
I teased it at the very beginning, like I wanted to say like 2 minutes ago, which hasn't been too much tension buildup, but I think it's worth talking about. You do something on the hiring side that nobody I've ever talked to does. So I think you're very unique. I'd love if you could share a little bit more about your unique approach to hiring and share that insight.
Yeah, absolutely. We've hired, I think, 30 people in the past few years. So that's been something that I'm passionate about, and I've really had to get down. In my space, especially, it's the legal industry is a tough industry to hire in, especially because it's so different just depending on what you're doing. I mean, like I just mentioned, in patent law, I was sitting in front of a computer screen all day, every day. Whereas if you go to other industries like criminal defense, you're pretty much talking all day long, right? And so for me, I really want to get people that are balanced well with the job description, who like doing what they do. I don't want someone who is grinding it out in front of a computer screen when they'd rather be talking to clients. So for me, I actually work with a group called Culture Index. It's a pretty large company. It's been around for over 20 years. They've got tons of different industries. It's definitely not legal specific, but they essentially have this product where I can put a culture survey into my job description, so on LinkedIn or Indeed. And effectively, in the job description, I say, hey, if you want to be considered, you got to take this 5-minute culture survey. And I have my own rep that I work with who kind of helps me dial that in and create accurate job descriptions for what they're actually going to be doing. And then from that, we can effectively really figure out, number one, what people would like to do. So, and it's largely, again, it's culture fit. So like, are you the type of personality that you would want to sit in front of a screen and do technical work all day and not talk to people? Or do you need to just talk to people all day long and you don't really care for the technical work? Or do you need a little bit of both? And then we can also dial in on a few things of like, do you prefer a lot of different projects versus do you need like one project for a 6-hour block that you just want to work on? So it's really, it's not like trying to assess like how smart people are, how skilled people are, anything like that. It's really just trying to assess what types of work do you like to do, and would you be a long-term successful fit in this chair, or are you going to have to be really stretching and flexing and kind of grinding at something you don't really like to do? But for example, I had, in the early days, I hired a attorney to do probate for us. And a year in, he was like, Kyle, I am miserable. Like I have 80 different clients that I'm working with all day, every day. I'm juggling all these different things, driving around to court. I don't have more than 20 minutes to focus on a particular task. And so I said, great. Well, we moved him over to estate planning. And now he sees maybe 2 clients a day, 3 clients a day, and can allocate like 2 to 3 hours per project. And he loves it. And he's super successful in it now. So I've kind of got lucky in the beginning of just moving people after the fact, once we figured out what they like to do and where they'd be good at. But this tool has really allowed us to dial in and get it right the first time. So I don't have to hire a probate attorney and be like, oh, I hope he's a good probate attorney, versus, maybe we'll have space to move him over to the estate department if that doesn't work out. So I love it. It's a great funnel to help us just dial in. And frankly, it saves a ton of time too. Because if I have 10 candidates and only 3 of them are really a viable fit for that role, then I only got to interview 3 people.
And so we talked to this guy, the culture index guy. I don't remember his name offhand, but
Carrie.
What was his name?
Carrie is mine.
Carrie. I think that was ours too. And you go through that process. It feels a little bit like you're getting, like you're doing like a palm reading, or like you're getting your like horoscope read, because it's both shockingly accurate, but you're also trying to suss out if there's some snake oil going on. So there's like a little bit of a give and take, but we walked away from that super impressed as well. Like he did it. So as part of his sales process, he basically says, you guys fill in this survey, the survey you would give to anybody, and I will tell you kind of what I glean from your answers, how I can interpret those answers. And so he tells you things about yourself that really resonate. But like I said, some of those are like, you're an intelligent person. And it's like, oh, I am intelligent. Thanks. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. But some of the ones that are more like a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Those were pretty accurate.
Like the social, there was stuff around being sociable, and like, I think conformity was one of the like high level categories that they judge you by. Conformity being like how close to spec, or how basically anal are you about attention to detail and what you deliver. And that was a double-edged sword, because it was like, you'll never be happy with anybody you hire, but you'll also like deliver high quality work or whatever.
Yeah, I think you will probably gain more from the ones that lean a little bit more into the double-edged sword area, because those were shockingly accurate from what I saw.
Yeah. But again, it's like, it's the same type of thing as like speaking to the dead and horoscope reading. How much of this is him reading you, and how much of it is the tool itself providing the answer?
I have to tease Carrie. I call it, reading our tea leaves, right? Exactly. I'm with you. I think there's a little bit of frou-frou to it. Where I've kind of tested them in the beginning was, we sent it out to all of our current employees that I've had for years, and I know their strengths, I know their weaknesses. And then we kind of walked down, and it was very eye-opening. I was able to apply it to people that I already knew a lot of this stuff on, and I can tell you like 4 out of 5 times he nailed it. And so where I found that useful too for current employees is that some of them were in a little bit of pain and I didn't know it. Like, for example, I had a sales guy who just did not like the details. Like, he wants to talk and sell stuff. He doesn't want to take notes for 20 minutes afterwards. And so we were able to look at that, kind of realize that a little bit and say, oh, why don't we just get him an assistant that helps to tee up the notes after the fact, right? He doesn't have to sit here and take the notes if we have somebody else that can kind of help out and take over that type of stuff. So I think not only as a funnel for who we need, but also to optimize the current employees that we do have and make them just like their jobs more, right? So there's a lot of different ways that I can apply it, but yeah, there's definitely a little bit of whatever frou-frou sauce sprinkled in there. So take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, well, I know that you're like you're an EOS guy, you're a process guy. You're obviously trying out these like cutting edge things to improve your pipelines. Can you walk us through some other, applications that you might be applying internally that you'd consider cutting edge, whether it's on the marketing side, the ops side, hiring side, whatever?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, marketing's marketing. I think I'm pretty decent at that. I think there's a lot of folks that aren't so good at that, especially in my space. But the one of my favorite projects that we've worked on recently is building out our process in a software platform called Process Street. And it's process software, but the secret of it is we've tied conditional logic to who's doing what and when and why. And so as somebody completes a task, our process actually reassigns the next task automatically to the next team member that says, hey, this is ready, but it moves in tandem with us of when it gets completed. So for example, if we want to file an application for a probate within 4 weeks of bringing on a client, and that's our normal process, normally that date is fixed. But if, let's say, something delays that and the clients don't get us the death certificate or they don't get us the original will in time, this software is smart enough to go, okay, we need to push out all these other 300 due dates to give them extra bandwidth because this one wasn't on track. And so it's just a really powerful tool that whenever you put it on the wall and look at your process, it was so eye-opening too for us to be able to see where we could be more efficient, where things were slipping through the cracks. And now that we've got it dialed in, I've got processes on the probate side that have 450 tasks that have to be done. And when you go into all the different logic trees and whatnot, it's mind-numbing at what we had memorized or we're working through in traditional software that now it's moving ahead, it's going down those decision trees, it's assigning tasks, it's keeping our deadlines on track, and it's also allowing me to see who's working efficiently or who's overwhelmed, where the bottlenecks are. So definitely moving our processes into that type of a platform was a complete game changer that not only made us more efficient, but also as we hired more attorneys, it really trains them for us quicker because it says, we file an application and it says, oh, you're going to need to do a will annex. And the new employee is like, what the heck does that mean? And so the system then has information and a video on like, this is what a will annexed is, this is why. And if you don't understand from there, go ask somebody. So it's a game changer on our end, getting that dialed in.
And is that tied closely to your case management, or you fire off like a webhook? How does it integrate with like your other processes?
Yeah, basically, we've built it in to do intake within that, and then we've integrated it with like Clio's the major, that's our case management system. Clio's not as up to snuff on being able to build out this conditional logic that we needed, and so really it pushes into Clio and creates the matter numbers and whatnot, and sets up the engagement agreement, and then from there it's cross-departmental too, though. So it'll tell our billing department to, hey, go run an invoice in Clio, it's ready to bill. It'll tell our DocuSign, we've got that all built in there. It pushes out to Dropbox for our case file. And so it's really it's fully integrated with like Zapier and other platforms. So I can make it talk to anyone. And so it's really the brains of our operation.
Amazing. Yeah, it sounds very much like N8N is another great kind of like workflow automation software, kind of BPMN, process automation, piece of tooling, more used for techie stuff like ETL and, AI tooling, AI summarization and what have you. But I think it's all, you're definitely doing something in that application that a bunch of people could benefit from. And that's like having, there's this, man, I'm not gonna be able to explain this well, but when you talk about like the evolution of an org and doing things at scale, there are like the same way as we evolved from prehistoric, well, whatever, I don't know, by germs, but I mean more like cavemen up through Homo sapien. There are the same type of evolutionary steps to an org and how they execute process. You have like no process. You're just an org that does things and is tribal knowledge. Then there is written documentation where you have documents that kind of explain what to do, but they may or may not be super accessible. Then you have tooling that enforces your processes. So things like project management, where you might have a template every time we do a web build. These are the steps that need to happen. Check off your tasks when they're done. And then your final stage of evolution is the tasks just complete themselves. So it's like an autonomous type of system. So that is like the evolution of org. You guys feel like you're right in between kind of that like stage 3, stage 4 type of zone.
Yeah, absolutely. And automations are so fun because once you get them to work and they fire off, you're just like, we don't have to do that anymore. So
100.
that reminds me, we actually got rid of our mailing department and we've automated all that. So now whenever we send out hundreds of certified letters a month, Process Street just pushes us out to a third-party mailer and just boom, 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 they send it out and we're good
Who
to
are
go.
you using for the third-party mailer? Are you using Lob?
God. I literally don't even remember.
Okay.
That's how little I pay attention to it. No, it's not a legal specific mailer. But yeah, my team fleshed it out, figured it out, and I have no idea.
Nice.
So how much like a legal work are you doing day to day? How much of your day is like management? How much of your day is the execution?
Last year, I would have said 20-25% legal work. And I have very intentionally taken that down to 5% or less this year. I would say, honestly, almost 0% of direct client legal work. Where I still do sharpen my skills is in the EOS weekly meetings, level 10 meetings. We call it the probate power hour. And so I'm kind of in the room with a decade of knowledge now, solving problems and doing the strategies. And just kind of brainstorming with the team on how to solve the really gnarly, complex problems. But then my favorite part is that at that point I'm done. So
you're drinking a shot of beer every minute.
Yeah, exactly. I got to move the chess piece, and now I get to go to whatever else I want. So and it's had to go that way. I mean, I think we're about to hire attorney number 11, and so there's just no way that I can keep up with running the firm and dealing with all these software platforms and just high level business things that we need to get done and marketing strategies. So I'm very much in every space working with our leadership team, building out our leadership team. The weird thing about in the legal industry is that we run it like a business. So we've got to have a director of marketing. We've got to have, people in ops, but those people don't necessarily have to have law degrees, traditionally. And so I'm uniquely in that seat of leadership where I also happen to understand the law and can dive in. So I think I probably get pulled in a little bit more than I care to be on those things, but it's also just fun for me and I can't help myself. So.
And in your journey from being like solo to being in a place where you're doing 0 to 5% of all work, what was like the single hardest thing you had? And when I say thing, I'd like to be a little bit more precise than delegate as an answer. Like if there is something you could point to and say, I had this project in particular that, I really wanted to get involved in, but I couldn't because I needed to remove myself. Is there one thing you could point to in that journey from solo to where you are now that that was like a turning point?
Yeah, and it was really a decision, is what it was. It wasn't a thing necessarily, but I literally went on an hour-long walk with my wife. And this is, I think it was the first year I started, when I effectively was, one of my classmates from law school called me up and said, "Hey, I heard you're doing well. I want to come work for you." And she was working for a very fancy estate tax firm in San Antonio at the time. And so she had tons of the exact skill set that I was hungry for, frankly. And I remember just thinking, oh my gosh, am I really about to hire another attorney and trust my clients with someone else when my name's on the door? And I was very anxious, is the word I'm going to use, about those thoughts. And so it really just came down to deciding what I wanted. Was, do I just want to be a lawyer who is expensive and does legal work for clients, and I know that I'm going to cap out already in my first year and can't grow anymore? Or do I want a different problem, which is I'm going to create a legal business where I have to solve all the problems that come with growing a small business, and step back from the legal work and be okay with the fact that I may not eventually be an attorney? And ultimately, the decision became obvious that I was gonna get bored if I was just, if I was an attorney working on the same types of cases all day long. Whereas as a small business owner, oh my gosh, you are constantly solving problems. You are constantly taking risks, making decisions, doing strategy, and that's just that's the good stuff. So I took the plunge. I hired, and it was so just easy, refreshing, and just a natural transition, where I quickly figured out there's nothing special about me. Like, I'm not. There are plenty of good attorneys out there that can take great care of my clients, and so it's really finding the right attorney. But once you do, they're going to do as good or better a job at the legal work as I am, and I still get to participate in a way that I want to, and dabble here and there. So yeah, that it was a big decision. It took courage, but ultimately, thank God I landed there as quick as I did, because it's a heck of a lot of fun.
Well said.
Yeah, so it's nice that it went full circle, where the hardest part a lot of time was cracking the code on hiring and making sure you have the right people in the right seats to do a good job. Because in professional services, whether it's a law firm or a marketing agency, it's people doing the work for other people. So I think you're right about that, about really cracking the code on hiring.
Yeah, I've pulled out of a couple of attorneys out of larger, like mass tort and personal injury law firms, and they just, they weren't terribly happy with where they were, and they said, oh my gosh, like, y'all really care about us and support us and try to make us successful here, and I'm just like, yeah, because you're the product. Like, if you're the one talking to the clients, you're the one solving their problems, you're the one making sure expectations are set and they have a good experience. So that's my job, is to make sure my attorneys are set up and supported. Because without them, I don't have a product.
Yep. Do you have any sort of moments that you came to a realization like that on the marketing side, where there was some big thing that opened up your deal flow a little bit more?
Ooh. The major push on the marketing side was, the answer is no. The answer is no. I've experimented with probably 40 or more different marketing strategies. Some of them worked. Some of them didn't do a darn thing, as I'm sure y'all can relate to. So on the marketing side, it's hands down experimentation, testing, and measuring. So the one good thing I did from the get-go is I tracked every little thing that I did. And if it worked, I did more. If it didn't, I shut it down and moved on. So tracking and measuring the ROI. And then for me, there's two pivotal points. Number one is when Google decided that we were pretty good at it and started to reward us from an SEO side. That's once we got there, the gasoline has never come off. It continues to grow and grow and grow. I think we have almost 100,000 plus visitors on our website every single year at this point, and that's just continued to grow. The conversion rates continue to grow. And then the surprising one for me was that the pendulum has actually swung the other way, and now the majority of our growth is coming from referrals. And it's referrals from past clients, referrals from other strategic partners that have figured out we're pretty good at what we do. And that's beautiful. That's exciting on my part because it was unexpected, and we really had to earn that through doing good work. And so that's I don't necessarily have control over that, but it's been a lot of fun to have to solve those growth problems that way.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the last thing we'll kind of leave this with is I really used to enjoy saying we let our work speak for itself. We're the agency that has no sales team. But now we can't say that because we've got Tara out there hitting the pavement. But anyways, Kyle, this was really, I think, insightful. We learned a lot about process management and implementing tooling to scale and like enforce quality control across an org. We learned about hiring and kind of some tea leaf reading and how all that can play out. And yeah, I think this was really, really great. So thanks for joining us on Hot Docket. We'll put links in the comments on the episode and see you on the next one. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Hot Docket. We're your hosts, Bobby and Andrew, founders of MeanPub, the marketing agency for ambitious law firms.
Have questions about marketing or anything we covered today? Email us at bark@meanpug.com.